Coming off a bye week, the Frogs are hoping they're re-energized. They need to be at 3-3. Welcome in, everybody, to the All Horned Frogs podcast, part of the All-City Network cavalcade of podcasts. We are in downtown Dallas at the DLLS studios for episode 6. Is that right? 6? 6. Time flies when you're having fun, I guess. Coming up today, TCU quarterback Josh Hoover stops by at 3 p.m. DLLS boss man Ben Rebstock, the birthday boy. He's a TCU graduate, also and a season ticket holder. He comes in after I get done rambling here. He'll take a temperature of the fan base, and then the closer, Jamie Plunkett of 247 Sports, he finishes things off at 3:15. But before we get to our guests, let's play some catch up. TCU football is coming off its open week or its bye week, whatever you want to call it. It probably came at the right time after the dismal performance against Houston. Rather than reliving that one, a 30-19 loss against a team that hadn't scored in 3 weeks. Let's take a look at what the Frogs tried to accomplish during the open week that marked the halfway point of their season. First up, Sonny Dykes said Tuesday during his weekly presser was ball security, something that he said after the loss that no one preaches ball security more than him. That said, his team has 12 turnovers in the last 3 games. That's not good. That's not going to win you a lot of games. It's tricky, though, Dyke said, because the Frogs have been practicing really cleanly. You know, they haven't taken that execution into the game or the energy into the game. The thing about being the most excited team that Sonny Dykes preaches hasn't happened. And so that's something else he wanted to resolve. So, not only to turnover stop drives, but the defense in sudden change situations, cost the offense confidence, all sorts of bad things. Nothing good comes from a turnover. Dyke surmised that a team that cuts down its turnovers is going to have more energy.
We went 3 weeks in fall camp and didn't throw an interception. And that's kind of been a problem for us. And so, we just got to get these things fixed. And part of it has just been, putting ourselves in some long yardage situations. Part of it's been probably pressing, trying to do a little too much in situations. And so we just got to get settled in and play with confidence. And I think that's the biggest thing for us right now. It's just understanding that if we'll go out there and perform at a high level, that's going to give us an opportunity to win. And we don't have to do anything extra. We don't have to try to fight for extra yards and do the things that cause, turnovers sometimes, and just got to do a good job of taking care of the ball and being aware of it. And obviously that's been a big point of emphasis for us, the last 10 days.
Ike in the chat says, if we can stop shooting ourselves in the foot to start the game, we'll be fine. Completely agree with Ike. Also, be more like Ike. Put your comments in the chat, and I'll get to them, and we can have a good football talk here. But Josh Hoover, I think, was kind of the target there of Dyke's comments about decision-making and knowing when to go for it. He committed 3 of the 4 turnovers against Houston, although one was a fumble late in the game. Nevertheless, it counts. We'll ask him about ball security and all that jazz and how he tried to clean it up. Dyke said one thing, the quarterback, any quarterback, whether it's Hoover or whether it's Jalen Monroe for Alabama, has to weigh whether the juice is worth the squeeze, whether the risk is worth the rewards, in other words, when to take his shots, when to check down or throw the ball away, things like that. But the quarterback is going to make better decisions and better throws when he isn't pressured, when the ground game is churning, and when I lost my spot, damn it, and when the defense is getting stops. That's key. Rather than putting the offense in situations where they have to throw the ball. All the little things add up to big things, and they were on the practice agenda after Houston.
in the past?
Yeah. My biggest thing is I think for us, it's pretty clear kind of what we've struggled in, and so I think for us it was, tried to focus a lot on fundamentals. Playing lower up front. Obviously better ball security. Tackling, just all the stuff that's important. So we had a bunch of opportunities last week to get, work in. And I thought we had really good practices and improved. And I think this week's we're off to a good start. So I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing. I think the biggest thing for us, again, when you sit down and you have a chance to reflect on the first half of the season, it's all been about turnovers for us. And when we take care of the ball, we give ourselves a chance to win, and when we don't, we don't.
Up next for the Frogs is Utah, their old rival from the Mountain West Conference. Kickoff is scheduled for 9:30 p.m. Here in Texas time on ESPN, the mothership at Rice-Eccles Stadium in Salt Lake City. Utah was the preseason Big 12 favorite, but is only 1-2 so far in conference play. Their main issue has been at quarterback, where the oft-injured Cam Rising, who made his first college appearance at Texas in 2018. He's injured again. He's out for the year, which leaves the offense in the hands of freshman Isaac Wilson. Isaac Wilson is Zach Wilson, the former BYU quarterback. Zach Wilson's brother. He's might be with the Broncos now. Anyway, watch out, Cougars. Those Wilson boys like them old. Wilson will be making his fourth start, but the first in a scenario in which he's known that he's going to start the game. Rising's been game time decision type of situation now. Wilson knows he's going to be the starter, so that probably gives him all the reps and all of that. All that comes with being the starting quarterback. Dykes doesn't think they're going to change a lot. And part of that is because Utah just does what it does when it really, since Kyle Whittingham took over for Urban Meyer all those years ago, 20 years ago, in fact. Whittingham is one of the college game's best coaches. Bottom line, he is a great coach. He might be the most underappreciated coach in college football, and he's one of the longest tenured coaches in football. Saturday will mark his 248th game as the head coach. He's approaching 400 at Utah if you count his days as an assistant coach. He's 166-81 all time in his 20th season, and Dykes believes Whittingham is a Hall of Fame caliber coach.
People that really know football. I mean, Kyle's not a flashy guy, and so he's not going to be doing a bunch of commercials and stuff. But I think everybody really respects him. I have a tremendous amount of respect for him, just as his consistency. His teams are always well coached. They have an identity. They play hard. I think anybody that's in the game of football has a tremendous amount of respect for Kyle and the way he does things and the way he goes about his business on a day-to-day basis. And it's not about him. And I think in today's world, there's not many guys that are kind of at high-profile programs or very successful programs that you can say that about.
I love that about Kyle. He's not flashy. He's not going to be doing any commercials. You're not going to see him doing Aflac with Coach Sanders and Saban. In other words, I also, just for the record, refuse to say Coach Prime. He's Coach Sanders. All right. Now, one TCU player, quarterback, is Travis Broughton, knows firsthand how good Utah can be. He transferred from the Utes to TCU after last season and is looking forward to going back to Salt Lake City, where he said people there treat Utah like the NFL team because it's the highest level of football they have. He also knows the crowd's going to be fiery, that the Utes will play hungry, and that the Frogs are going to have their hands full. Utah leads the head-to-head series 5-3, but TCU has won the past two. Now, it's been a while. They haven't played since 2010, a landmark game, really, in TCU history, when Andy Dalton led the Frogs to a 47-7 victory at Rice-Eccles in a matchup of two top five teams. The winner of that team was going to go to the Rose Bowl, or that game was going to go to the Rose Bowl. TCU won it, went to the Rose Bowl, beat Wisconsin, and finished second in the country. Look, the stakes aren't as high this time around, but the Frogs need to win. All right, they need to clean things up. They just need to win by 1 Saturday. They don't need to win 47-7. They'd take 47-46. Win a game, get it turned around, and still have the goals in front of you of reaching a bowl game. And still, this wide open Big 12, the Frogs have 2 conference losses. Last week, I kind of wrote them off. Brian Estridge jumped me for that. Just, when you look at the top of the conference, do you have any faith in those teams? Plus, the Frogs get a couple of them at home, so they have a chance to at least get back into the mix. But it starts Saturday with a win. See if you can do it. I mean, what do you think? Cam likes Ike likes Cam Cook at the running game. The running game has shown some signs here lately, and if you listen to Sonny a little bit, the offensive line getting lower, creating, blocking better on run situations. That's been a problem. It's been kind of a rotation there in the offensive line competition each week, trying to get guys who are on the field, the best guys on the field. Of course, the run blocking it isn't what it used to be with these teams throwing the ding ball all the time. My family went to a Mansfield rivalry game, Mansfield and Mansfield Lake Ridge a couple weeks ago, and it was 35-0 at halftime. Mansfield, we're Lake Ridge people, but Lake Ridge they couldn't pass block or run block. Mansfield, on the other hand, could block. They could do it both, but still, the 5 down linemen, no tight ends. It just it's not what it used to be. This isn't Nebraska and Oklahoma, the 1980s. But the Frogs need to run the ball. It takes pressure off of Josh Hoover. It keeps the defensive ends honest, and it just gives him more time to do what he needs to do. So we'll see if that's remedied. You saw Johnny Hodges, if you watched last week, saying that the defensive stuff will be cleaned up, the missed tackles, the missed assignments. That's yet to be seen. Utah is going to be, I think, challenged offensively with Wilson. They haven't scored a ton of points anyway, but they don't give up a lot of points. I think they average the fewest first downs in college football. They only allow, or at least the Big 12, they allow only 13 first downs a game, which is pretty staggering number. Now, if they're 81-yard touchdown passes, that counts as a first down. So they aren't allowing a lot of those, though, either. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Again, 9:30 start. Put an extra pot of coffee on the stove and settle in and watch that one on ESPN. Up next, Ben Rebstock, the boss man with the pulse of the fans. After that, Josh Hoover, the quarterback, at 3 o'clock, and Jamie Plunkett at 3:15. I've really taken to this Sleeper app. My wife says I've taken to it a little too much, but don't worry, honey. It's only like $2 or $3 bets at a time. Sleeper, people know it for fantasy sports. They're also getting into the daily picks, and that's a lot of fun. I've been focusing on baseball. It's tough in the postseason when the starting pitcher doesn't go but 3 innings, so those strikeout totals are skewed. College football is a lot of fun too. I had an 8-pick Saturday, a 8-pick card. Ends up that I missed one of them, so I missed out on $144. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus on that one. So gambling is not it's not the player's fault. It's the coach's fault. Everybody knows that. But Sleeper, if you use the code DLLS Frogs, you get $100. Up to $100 first deposit match. It worked for me. Let it work for you. Sleeper, download the app, and again, the code is DLS Frogs for a $100 match. And so with the money you're going to win, you need to go to rhoback.com. RH, don't forget the H, RHOBACK. Check out my hat. All right. This is a Rhoback hat. It's got the dog silhouette. I think it's a retriever. Who doesn't like a retriever? They shed a little bit, but that's all right. That's all right. Anyway, but Rhoback's known not for its dog logo, but for keeping you cool. Their shirts are fantastic. They're golf shirts. You can wear them for a ton of different occasions, like playing golf, going out and fishing. Anything that you do outdoors, you're going to want you're going to want Roback because they have the moisture wicking technology. So the darn shirt's not going to stick to you. It's going to keep you cool, keep you feeling fresh, and it's not going to stick to you when you're making a big swing with $50 on the line or anything like that. So go to Roback, RHOBACK.com. Use the code DLLS20 for 20% off your first order. All right, here he comes, Ben Rebstock. He's bringing bourbon, so that tells you where Ben's at.
Pulse of the fan, right?
That's right. Some of our
pop it off right off the top.
Herman Marshall whiskey.
Sorry,
one of the sponsors of our Star Show.
Wonderful Herman Marshall whiskey. No, we won't pop it here just for now. I had some last night during the game. It was really good.
Oh, excellent.
Going back to sleeper, by the way.
Yeah.
Last night's the night that Aaron Judge just finally decides to get a hit.
Yeah, I actually cast one on Judge because his postseason strikeouts are so high. So knowing that, I had him on one of my picks, and it worked out really, really well. I've been doing TCU. I did TCU. I bet against Cam Cook. Sorry, Ike. I bet a bit against Cam Cook in the Kansas game. Not the Kansas game, the game before that, and I ended up hitting that one. But anyway,
I did some at the Houston game, and that didn't go well.
Yeah,
I expect us to play a lot better against Houston, and them to play a lot worse against us, and that didn't happen. So my sleeper on that night was not very good, which should tell you the pulse of the fan a little bit right there.
Yeah. What Section 235, right?
235.
How did things looking from Section 235?
Pretty empty by the start of the fourth quarter. It was kind of dumbfounding. I mean, none of us thought it was going to be played out the way it ended up being played out in that game. It was just everything had gone wrong. Everything we had seen go wrong early in the season, we thought we'd get right against Houston, just knowing the quality of opponent, what was going to roll out there. Them rolling switching quarterbacks. It didn't play out that way at all. The turnovers happened again. Couldn't stop the run again. Just everything played the way that we didn't want it to play.
Yeah, Sonny talked about the turnovers, and that's all true. Though you can't win games when you aren't scoring points or holding on to the ball. The things that concerned me, because I was in the press box watching, watching. I'm a professional. The Houston defensive line was dominating the game. They were getting pressure without having to blitz. Yep. They weren't sending the house. Their defensive ends were doing the job and getting pressure on Hoover. So that's a concern. And then the run defense, especially in like what I thought were obvious run situations, and if you're going to have a running quarterback, aren't you going to spy him or something like that? So it's more than just turnovers. As Sonny, I know Sonny focuses on turnovers and everything, but and maybe scoring points minimizes how often your defense is on the field. But nevertheless, there are some issues there.
I think there have been some demoralizing losses, and some of the confidence level of the players has just vanished at the moment.
Yeah,
I think this bye week probably came at a really good time to hopefully distance themselves a little bit from them, get a whole reset. This actually is one of the perfect times for that bye. I've always hated in the past where it's like week 2 and we get our bye, or it's let's run out there for 10 straight games and then we finally get our bye and you're pushing through. This is the season where this bye is falling exactly at the time we need it to fall, because I don't think they could have gone out again last week and played well, to be honest with you. They've just had so many things go wrong for them. The execution hasn't been there. You're getting a new defense in there, so you're doing a new scheme. Sometimes you don't have the right personnel for that scheme, year one, and that seems to maybe be part of the issue at the moment now. But I'm hoping we come out of this game, come back in on Saturday night, and can be refreshed a little bit, maybe wash some of those things out, have some good practices for a week, get out of your own head and get out there and play TCU football like we were expecting from the start of the season.
Yeah, something that didn't get asked yesterday because I wanted to ask it, but it didn't. The timing wasn't right. This is Sonny's third year, so he's had 3 recruiting classes. I don't know if you can really count the first one, although Josh Hoover was part of it. But coming in late and having to scrounge and see what you can get.
Yeah.
But there were guys molds of guys that you wanted. You wanted tall, long offensive linemen, and you want long, tall receivers. Gary Patterson's players are pretty much all gone.
Yes.
Is Sonny happy with the way the recruiting classes have come together? Because then if you have a need, you go get somebody from the portal who just may not fit what you're trying to do. So I think that's an interesting question, and I'm in the middle of texting with Jamie Plunkett, who suddenly had something come on. So we're trying to get his buddy at 247 Sports, Jeremy Clark, to show on, and if he does, we can ask Jeremy this recruiting question. But anyway. Are you seeing? There's talented guys.
Yeah, there's talented guys, and I think also getting to your point a little bit, the lack of stability at the coordinator levels.
Yeah,
and some of the secondary position coaches as well. There just hasn't. Sonny's been the constant. There's been a lot of change and everything else, and with that change comes the influences of that coach has on those kind of players they want as well. And so I think I would love to have a year of some stability.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's what the fan base necessarily wants. I think the fan base would love changes at coordinators again at the moment. But with that comes another usually year of getting things figured out when that new coordinator comes in and their new system comes in and their new influences. So it's I would love to see some stability start rocking into this system. Get us a couple years. I'm not ready to make those changes myself just yet. I like the system. I like the change that they went to. I think we need a year or two of now recruiting guys to properly execute that system, and then we assess where we're at in a couple seasons.
Yeah, it happens all over the country. Like Alabama, we'll just use Alabama as an example. Entirely new coaching staff. And they have struggled.
They have struggled,
especially the last 2 weeks with losing to Vanderbilt and nearly losing to South Carolina. And you saw even late in the Georgia game, guys are just wide open.
Yeah.
Just doing stupid things. And so that's probably, and Alabama, great players. I mean, there's going to be first round draft picks. I think Milrow's the best player in football. I mean, obviously he's offensive, but the offense doesn't seem to be entirely the problem. But again, it's new systems for those guys. You can pick a school that had a coaching change, Washington, and Michigan.
Yes.
So it happens everywhere, but it's frustrating when it's your team, especially. The coordinator, defensive coordinator needed to change.
Yeah.
Offensive coordinator 2 years ago, that wasn't their decision. They didn't make that change. He went off to Clemson and seems to be doing fine, but even Clemson last year had trouble offensively, and everybody wanted to run him out of town. So patience wears thin though when you were riding high 2 years ago, and now it's a struggle.
It does, and as a fan, I don't mind these seasons from time to time, to be honest with you, because it's funny you went back to the 2010 season with TCU and Utah playing last. I actually went a few years before that. This kind of reminds me a bit of 2007, Dalton's first season.
Sure.
A lot of struggles, but you had a young quarterback go out there, take his lumps, struggle through games. They finished 8-5. They made a bowl.
Yeah.
And that just sparked them into 3 of the best years in TCU football history.
Yeah.
Is Josh Hoover Andy Dalton? I don't know. But I also don't mind a young kid going out there and struggling live against real competition. I think it just matures a guy and it matures a player over the years, especially in a position at quarterback where that's super important. And so none of us want to see the struggles. None of us want to see the turnovers, but I also recognize how young he is,
right,
and how few starts he has at this level. It does make I see the confidence there. I thought he started the season very confident. The way he was throwing the ball in those first couple of games was not the Josh Hoover we saw last year.
Yeah,
the turnovers have made him a bit hesitant over the last couple of games, but I want him to go back out there with that moxie he went out in the first couple of games, even if there are mistakes, even if there are fumbles. This is a season to where, as much as I'd love us to go 9-3 and make the Big 12 championship, and hey, we still can, Brian.
Yeah.
Brian's not wrong there. You look at the standings, 8 teams have a winning record. 8 teams have a losing record in the conference right
Yeah,
now.
it's
Nobody's
crazy.
necessarily just running away. A lot of the teams at the top have to play each other still.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, TCU does play some of those top teams, but those are home games.
Right.
You get through Saturday night, you have a pretty favorable schedule on the way out.
Yeah.
And so, no, I don't think they go 9-3 and make a push for the title game or anything. But I do think every other thing's there. They get to a bowl game, get that extra practice, get to go play in a bowl game, and hopefully win that game like we won the Texas Bowl that year against Houston.
Yeah.
And go into next season feeling really confident about yourself. You look at the upcoming recruiting classes; they are very good. We are our ratings are high in the upcoming classes. Sonny and them are getting kids to come in. The key is keeping those kids,
Right.
and you have to keep those kids by winning. And even if you end up playing in a lower tier bowl game, it's better than sitting at home and not playing. So this team still has a lot to play for this season, and hopefully they just get to finish out the second half of the season and wash away what happened in this first half.
Yeah, it's that bowl game, the 07 Texas Bowl, is my second year and final year on the beat. And Andy played great. He did. Art Briles was the Houston coach,
Yep.
and the defense, I think it was 20-13 was the final. Yep. Andy was the MVP. But that season, coming out of the bye week, because turnovers have been a problem.
Yep.
And Gary Patterson said, "All right, if you turn it over, Marcus Jackson's coming."
Yes.
And that happened a couple times.
Yes.
It really did. And maybe that, I don't know, helped Andy dial in. I don't know. But, I did wonder the other night if Haas Haney maybe should get at least a series. Pull Josh back, say, hey, take a breath.
Yeah.
Watch the football game, see the defense from a different angle, see what they're doing. I thought that was a possibility. Alas, it didn't happen, and that's okay. But I think the bye week came at a good time.
I'm in favor of that, by the way, whether Hoover's playing the best football of his career or not. I don't mind the backup getting out there. This was an old Gary Patterson deal. That happened all the time. Get the backup a series or two every game, just to get out there in case an injury happens, in case something happens.
Yeah.
It's not deer in the headlights on the next snap with your backup going out there. Go out there and give him a little experience. And if Haas is not going to redshirt this year, and he's just be on the sideline, he absolutely should get some snaps.
Get him in there
in all of these games to get him a little bit of game experience. But no, I'm hoping this mirrors 07 in Dalton as much as it can. This is, I want Hoover out there. If he is our quarterback for the next several years, recognize how young he is still right now, and let him go out there, get that experience. Win or loss, it's good being on the field. You're gonna know if you've got a quarterback or not.
Yeah.
And the only way to do it is by getting out there and playing these games. And if you're struggling, stick out there. So,
if I'm not mistaken, my memory is not what it used to be. The Frogs were 4-4 when they hit the bye week that year, and finished 8-5. I think their one loss though was to Utah coming out of the break. I might be wrong, but anyway, there are some parallels that you can draw and hope for the best thing. Yeah, a bowl game would be fantastic.
Yeah,
it really would
be great.
Yeah. All right.
See, I don't completely stink. I bring a little bit to the show from time to time.
Yeah, you do. That's good.
If things go bad, see that baseball ranking?
Oh man, I didn't. What is it?
I think it's 16. I mean, we're up there. We're looking good. Preseason ranking going into the season. I mean, and 2 Chains coming to do the basketball
2 Chains is coming basketball
kickoff. So
the 25th, I think.
Yeah. The things are looking up, and we're still not Baylor.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, Tanner.
There you go.
Sorry, buddy.
All right. That's Ben Rebstock. He's the boss man.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
Appreciate you very much. We're going to do 2 quick little ads here. Josh, hang on. We'll do it right after this. Empire Today. If you need floors, Empire Today is the place to get them. It's about as user-friendly, as buyer-friendly as you can possibly get. Empire, they've been around forever. Everybody knows about Empire. And the big thing for Empire, $350 off new floors if you go to empiretoday.com/DLLS. If you using them, you get carpet and flooring pros. You don't get somebody who like at a big box store who was just out, selling a lady petunias. You get a guy who, you get people who know what they're doing. It's their specialty. They have the lowest price guarantee. They have the virtual floor designer, which is pretty cool because you can hold up your phone and pick out a floor, and voila, you get to see what it looks like in your room, any room. And the thing that I really like is they service their own warranties. Of course, it's Empire, so you're not going to need to use that warranty. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive $350 off discount when they use the promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. See EmpireToday.com/DLLS. And with all that money you're going to have that you're saving on the floors, you're going to have money to go to concerts and ball games and whatnot in the last minute. So you're going to need the Game Time app. Download Game Time. All right. It has, it's an industry leader, really, as far as finding a ticket. It has all-in pricing, so there are no surprises at the end. Seat views. You get a panoramic seat view, so you know if you're behind a post or where you are. Lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you up to 110%. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. It's also Josh Hoover time. There he is. Josh, where are we driving, buddy?
How's it going?
Good. How are you? Where are we rolling off to?
Good. Oh, I just hopped out of class, so I just finished up class.
What class you have?
I had a entrepreneurship class, a venture development class. So
okay, so yeah. For everybody who's wild about what Josh is doing on the field, he was also an academic All Big 12 choice last year. Are you? That sounds like from the business school. Are you going toward a business degree?
Yes, sir. I'm in Neely, so that's what we're working on.
All right, good for you. A little Josh Hoover background. Heath, Texas, Rockwall Heath High School. He is third in the country with 2,007 passing yards, tied for third in TD passes with 16, and he's on pace to set the TCU record for completion percentage. Kenny Hill had that record at 67.3%. Josh is at 68.6%. So how do you feel about your season so far?
It's been good. I feel like we've had some ups and downs, and we've shown some flashes of some really, really good stuff on offense. But I think we all know that we can play better on offense and play more consistent. And so I think that's what we're excited about in this last half of the season, is just the opportunity to go out there every week and show what we can do and show that we can play a complete game and play clean on offense. And I know we have the guys to do it, and I know we're going to. So that's the exciting thing about it.
How did the bye week help you guys work out those wrinkles that you're having?
Yeah, it was great. We got to kind of look back and take a second, kind of look at see what we could do better, and just kind of gave guys an opportunity to get healthy, and it really came at a good time after last week and the loss to Houston, and so I think it was good for us just to be able to go back to the basics and the foundation of our offense and what we do, and just kind of go over some of the things that we were missing out on, some of the details that you kind of skip over sometimes. So I think that was good for us to kind of get a little reset, going into this Utah game.
So bye week, personally, my philosophy on all sports, when I cover baseball, whether it's baseball or basketball or whatever, you're never 100% as soon as spring training or fall camp starts. You're like a car coming off the lot. You just start deteriorating value. So I'm guessing you were sore, had some nicks and bruises. How are you feeling right now, though, as you get ready for Utah?
Yeah, I feel the best I've felt like since before fall camp. So just like you were saying, everybody feels the same way, and I know it's good for me to be able to take some time to heal up a little bit, and just some nagging stuff all that's been dealing with. And so I feel really healthy, feel ready to go, and couldn't be more excited about finishing up the last half of the season, the back half of our schedule, and this Utah game on Saturday. I think we're all excited, feeling good.
What do you see when you look at Utah's defense?
Yeah, they're really talented. They have a lot of really good players. Their front impressive. They're physical, they're big and strong, and they play hard. And obviously, they're a disciplined team. They've been a really successful team over the last couple of years, and for a long time. So they're an impressive team. The way they play is they're just physical, and they do their job, and they tackle well and run to the ball. So they're a really good defense, and we feel like we do some good things on offense too, and we're excited about that matchup and that opportunity that we have to go out there and have some fun and kind of do what we do on offense.
Seems like the ground game, starting with the Kansas game, even against Houston, has kind of found some footing. What do you like about Cam Cook and Jeremy Payne, who talked to the media on Tuesday? What do you like about those two guys?
Yeah, the good thing about those two guys is they can do everything. They can pass protect, they can run the ball between the tackles, run it outside, beat you with speed. They're both really quick guys, and then they can also catch the ball at the backfield. And so when you have running backs that can do all of those things, it makes it so much easier on you as a quarterback, just to operate on offense. So I'm really proud of those guys, the way they've kind of developed over the last couple weeks, and I think we're gonna, really make strides in just our overall offensive efficiency. Running the ball, throwing the ball, being balanced, and just being successful on offense. It takes everybody to be successful, and I think those guys have really developed. And looking forward to watch their production over the next couple games.
I mean, it makes your life easier if you're able to run the ball. You're not throwing it 50 times a game, and the defense knows that you're throwing it 50 times a game. It's going to make your life a little bit easier, right?
Yeah, the more balanced you can be, and the more you can keep people kind of on their toes, the better off it is for everybody. So, which I'm surely not afraid of it. Surely not afraid to throw it 65 times a game. I think everybody probably knows that, but I think for our overall offensive efficiency and just production-wise, it's good that we can be balanced and do both and keep people on their toes. Easier for Coach Browse to call plays too.
Coach Dykes Tuesday, when he was talked about the turnovers, and you talked about it after the game against Houston. How do you practice not committing turnovers? What drills are there, or is it just something that requires more film work than anything else?
Yeah, I think there's been a couple of them that maybe just been made some decisions in times where we're down and just trying to do too much sometimes. And I think that I've learned from those mistakes, and then we've had a couple just we've got to get on the same page and kind of know what we're doing on offense as a group, and then me just being better off and taking easy stuff sometimes. But I think that at quarterback you have to be able to be disciplined, and I think I've made those strides. And we've kind of seen some different stuff over the last couple weeks, and just as you play more and more, you just see more looks. And I think you just have to be willing to trust your eyes and trust in your preparation, and expect good things to happen. I think sometimes you can get caught up thinking about the negatives all the time and forget about some of the positives. And it's funny how that works. Sometimes you kind of get what you think about sometimes. And so I think that, for me, just trusting my preparation, trusting the guys around me, trusting the offense, and then just running the offense the way it's supposed to be run, and just trusting my eyes, trusting what I see. So I think that's kind of what we focused on, and just playing our game and just going out there and having fun.
Hey, what's your relationship with Coach Dykes? If people want to go back in the Wayback Machine, you committed to Indiana initially, but when he became the Frogs coach, you decommitted from the Hoosiers and signed on with TCU, and Garrett Riley was the offensive coordinator at the time. But what do you like about Sonny Dykes? What is it that led you to Fort Worth and has kept you in Fort Worth?
Yeah, I was committed in Indiana, and the offense coordinator was fired, and he ended up going to Washington. And I think pretty soon after that, or around that day, Coach Dykes got this job, and I really liked Coach Riley and Coach Dykes at SMU. I just didn't feel like that was a place that fit me, and so when they came to Fort Worth, it was a perfect fit. And I appreciate Coach Dykes for the opportunity for taking me here. I mean, I wasn't a high recruit by any means, and there weren't many people trying to persuade me to come their way. So I was definitely appreciative for the opportunity and just for the belief Coach Dykes had in me. And, he's been a great coach, and just appreciate him and all he's done for us and our team. And he's just a great leader and does a great job with our program.
Okay. We talked about you're more than a football player. You're a heck of a student. Your Twitter page, you have a beautiful trout that you caught that you're showing off. What is it Josh Hoover does when he's not playing football?
Yeah, I like to fish. I like to hunt. Obviously football season makes it tough to get out and hunt much, but I do like to hunt. After the season, and I keep a horse in Fort Worth for the off season, so I do some of those things off the field and just being outside. I'm always trying to stay busy. Play some golf too. So those are kind of what I stay to.
Where you got a fishing spot? Where's your spot to catch a fish?
Well, we've got some places back home that we fished at in high school and stuff, just farm ponds and stuff like that. But we've me and my roommate Brent Matisick, our long snapper, we had some success on Lake Tawakoni this summer catching sand bass and stripers and hybrids. So we had a good time out there.
Yeah. Something else I noticed, I saw in your bio that your dad played football at Colorado State. Now I'm from Colorado. My nephew graduated from CSU a couple years ago. How did he get to Texas, or was he from Texas and went back home?
Yeah, he's from Texas, so he grew up in actually in Rockwall, right there. He moved there his freshman year from East Dallas and went to Rockwall High School, and then I think his only offer was UTA, and then he was getting recruited by Texas a little bit. He wasn't their first choice, but the linebackers coach, Leon Fuller, ended up taking the job at Colorado State. And so when he did, he offered my dad, and that was kind of the place he decided to go. He only had two offers. I think it was UTA and Colorado State, and UTA ended up dropping the program about 2 years after that. So I think it worked out. He went to CSU, and I know he definitely enjoyed his time up there and loved Fort Collins, and met a lot of great guys that I know today. And so I think I grew up watching the Rams, and I've actually got recruited a little bit by Coach Norvell and them when they went there, but I ended up had to stay in Fort Worth at TCU. That wasn't a hard decision.
Did you catch that trout up there?
No, I caught that trout on the San Juan and up in Farmington, or up north of Farmington. So it was there at the San Juan, that little stretch.
Sure. All right. So you were a baseball player also in high school. Is there any two-way sport? You want to go over and tell Coach Sarlos you're ready to lace him up for him?
Yeah, I don't know if he wants that. Maybe I think that might be a one-way street. So, but yeah, no, I love baseball, and I spent so much time doing it. I mean, way more time probably playing baseball and working on baseball stuff than I ever have with football. So that's a sport that requires a lot of time and effort and grind, and not the football doesn't, but it's just a different kind of grind, daily grind that it really prepared me for my football career, I think, and helped me just develop that work ethic to just do the same things over and over and not getting bored with the basic fundamentals of what you have to do to be successful. So baseball was great for me, taught me how to play different positions, and I think a lot of the throwing came from baseball, and the ability to throw from different angles and getting the ball out quick. It all comes from baseball. So I think baseball was made a huge contribution to my football success and stuff like that.
Yeah, Jeremy Payne actually he played baseball in high school, and he mentioned the different arm angles you throw from. He says, yeah, there's a baseball player in there. So last question. You're from Heath, the Rockwall area. Have you seen Shaq?
I haven't been home since he's moved into town.
Oh man!
Or I haven't really lived there, so I didn't see him anywhere. Some of my friends have sent videos and taken pictures on social media and stuff. He actually moved into a neighborhood of where one of my best friends growing up lives. So I think he lives a few houses down. So I know he's definitely around town, and people have seen him, but I'm sure he's still traveling the world, pretty busy guy. So I'm sure I'll see him at some point.
He is
Not
hard
hard
miss.
to find.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's probably not hard to miss.
Yeah, he is hard to miss. All right, Josh, appreciate the time. Continued success. As a TCU graduate, I feel safe in saying go out and beat Utah. All right.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on.
All right. That's Josh Hoover, guys, the quarterback of the Horned Frogs, having a remarkable season. 2007 passing yards. That's pretty stunning. Third in the country. I'm sure not a lot of people had that. So anyway, coming up, we're gonna have a pinch hitter. We're pinch hitting for the closer. They did away with with pitchers batting, but still, a pinch hitter is dialed up. Melissa Triebwasser, you know her from Jamie's Frogs Insider podcast. She worked for Frogs Today. You've just known her. You know Melissa, and she's great. So she's coming up in a minute. But first, we need to talk about becoming a diehard member at DLLS. Now, this is the All Horned Frogs podcast, so it's part of the All-City Network, but we shoot it in Dallas at the DLS studios. So I just think of it as a DLS show. By the way, it's the lone college that we are covering right now. So take that, SMU and UT, although I think UT's coming on board soon. But anyway, diehard membership you get for a very economical price. You get full access to everything we cover. I cover the Rangers. We cover the Stars, the Mavs, and of course we cover the Cowboys. Anything behind the paywall, you get access to. Also, we're going to do events like stadium takeovers and watch parties, and even some trips. You get a 20% discount off of those, and then on top of that, you get a free shirt. All right. So when you deduct the shirt from the membership cost, you're getting it for even more affordably. You get our merch at store.allcitynetwork.com. We have a TCU shirt. All right. It is a good looking shirt. Mine is expected to be here within the week. I hope to have it on next week for the show so I can show it off. I've got 3 Ranger shirts coming. So we're going to have hats coming soon. We have hoodies now. And today it's officially hoodie weather. So All City Network is our home, but the store is store.allcitynetwork.com. All right, coming up momentarily is Melissa Triebwasser. She is not Jamie Plunkett, but she's Jamie's co-host on the Frogs Insider podcast. She is a TCU graduate. She's from California. She just moved back to Fort Worth from California. She couldn't take it anymore. She had to be around her frogs. I get it. So we're gonna ask her a bunch of questions about the football team. She has opinions. Melissa has opinions. She also has the link, so hopefully very soon she will be dialing in. Until she does, the Utah, the first time I covered a Utah TCU game was 2006, and it was after TCU, of course, won its opener at Baylor. Then it beat Texas Tech. That's when Gary Patterson came out and was talking about respect and speed and all this stuff. Then they promptly lost on a Thursday night to BYU at home. Jeff Ballard was hurt in that game and hurt his shoulder. And so the whole next week, he did not practice. He didn't take a single snap. This is back when Gary would let media, in this case, it was pretty much only me, watch practice from start to finish. All right, so they were off Mondays, Tuesday practice, Wednesday practice, Thursday practice. And Thursday is when Gary would tell you who's out, who's not going to be making the trip. And so Jeff Ballard did not practice. So I remember very distinctly, and Gary worked so hard during practices, lost his voice. He was exhausted. He's bent over on his hands on his knees. And so I started asking him about players who were hurt. And I said, first one I said was Ballard. He said, yes, as in he's going on the trip. Then I asked him a couple others, and I said, Ballard. And he looked at me. He really restrained himself because it was kind of a jerky question to ask because I was kind of doubting Jeff Ballard's availability. But he said, yes, I told you yes. And I was like, all right. So we go up to Salt Lake, and Ballard starts, and he is not effective. The offense is not effective at all. He might have thrown an interception. Anyway, sure enough, Marcus Jackson, who'd practiced all week, ends up finishing the game. Frogs lose at Rice Eccles. And then they were 2-2 at that point. And then they rattled off 8 straight wins to end the season. Gary, of course, was very happy with that. But Ballard, we talked about him the last week of Brian Estridge. Those are Jeff Ballard's only 2 losses as a TCU quarterback. I believe he went 19-2, maybe 20-2 as a starter. I know he tried to go off into the NFL. They all try it. Didn't happen. Probably didn't have the arm strength, but a good guy, great representative of TCU. He was fantastic. Always good at these press conferences and whatnot when Gary actually made the quarterback available. So anyway, Melissa is here. I just got the hi sign from Melissa. How we doing?
Hello, Jeff.
Well, Jamie just got called into a meeting, and I'm glad he let me know. I'm glad he gave me 10 minutes notice.
Perfect. Listen, I'm always here to pick up where
perfect.
He lets
and
off.
So I figured she might be in class, but here she is. Guys, if you don't know Melissa, check her out at the Coach Melissa on the Twitter, or if you want to call it X, you can call it X. Melissa, what's up with your Frogs football team?
Jeff, that is the question of the season, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think disappointment is absolutely the word for fans and even people that covered the team based on what we kind of expected going through fall camp and everything we were hearing from players and coaches. But I mean, there are a lot of deficiencies in all 3 phases of the game. And I mean, those are bearing out anytime they play a team that's more competitive than Kansas.
Yeah. And LIU.
Well, we don't really count that one.
The quarterback was just on our show. He for a sophomore, I know he's a redshirt sophomore. He's not new to the program at all. I don't even know if you'd call him a young player. I guess you still would, but he seems so composed. At least when he was talking to us. What do you like Josh Hoover? Do you still have the faith?
I think it's really hard to judge Josh Hoover at this point because, like you mentioned, he's not really a young quarterback anymore. He has a full season of starts underneath his belt, but he also isn't playing in a position where he's got a lot of opportunity to be successful. With as bad as the run game has been and as much of a sieve as the offensive line has been, you can tell that he's pressing. The turnovers are obviously an issue, especially over the last couple of games. I think he's got like 7-something interceptions in his last 3 games. But, how much of that is bad decision making and how much of that is him trying to give his team an opportunity to win and pressing a little bit? I think both things are capable of being true. And I think he has some ownership and responsibility for some of the mistakes that he's made and some of the bad reads that he's had. But I also think that he's not trying to do this out of lack of ability, but more in trying to do too much. He's gotten back to that gunslinger mentality that Sonny Dykes tried really hard to break him out of in August.
Yeah, it's hard to break a Mustang, I guess, but not an SMU Mustang. But
well, that was really hard to break for TCU, so it's not broken. They broke TCU, is what happened. The Mustang won that one.
The run game. I mean, it's hard to be a quarterback. A, when you're on your back. And B, when there's no balance, when teams know you're going to throw. It just seems like, it seems like the run game is going the right way. But, TCU, when you think of TCU history, you think of running the ball. I know Andy Dalton's kind of the guy and Max Duggan, who could run the hell out of the ball. Those teams ran the ball. Nevertheless, they had the good quarterbacks, but they ran the ball. I mean, how that's probably, I know the turnovers are what Sonny talked about this week, but running the ball will fix a lot of that.
Sure. And I think that there's the ability to run the ball well. There's definitely the talent, but the run blocking has been abhorrent, I think is a fair statement to make there. It's really bad. We heard, it was so funny because talking to people that were around fall camp a lot, we all thought, man, like this offensive line's going to struggle in pass pro, but they can really run block well because we saw how successful Cam Cook and Jeremy Payne and guys like that looked in August doing that. And what we didn't realize was no, TCU just is really struggling to generate a pass rush defensively, and this run defense is an absolute sieve. They had the adverse effect of making TCU's run game look like it was going to be a strength of this team. And I'm not trying to be unfair here, but
I know you're
like,
not, but it's true.
yeah, but it's true. And, I think Cam Cook is a really talented player. I love what I've seen out of Jeremy Payne as a true freshman. I think he has a chance to be really special, but I didn't look at the stats because like you mentioned, Jamie gave me 30 seconds to prepare for this, but I'm sure that the yards before contact are not great for any of TCU's running backs. And so I think for a lot of the struggles are coming from the fact that they are not even getting a hold of hit. And we saw Cam Cook has had to bounce the ball out wide so often, and that's not necessarily his game or his strength, but there's not anywhere to go up the middle. There's not an opportunity for him to make the type of plays that would make this run game successful.
Yeah. I saw you, I think you tweeted something earlier today about women's soccer is now a top 10 program. Women's volleyball is kicking ass and taking names. We talk about more than football here with Jamie usually. I mean, that's great. I mean, fall sports are dominated by football, but people need to pay attention to these two teams.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned TCU soccer now is number 8 in the country, and they are playing at an incredibly high level in all aspects. Offensively, they've been an absolute tear. They went up to Colorado, dropped, I think, 6 goals in the Buffaloes. They dropped 5 in the first half against Arizona State in their home finale. This is a team that has been really hitting its stride at the correct time. And the thing that's really cool is that it's not just the older players contributing. That Eric Bell has managed to mix and match this roster and put true freshmen in a position to be super successful. And they're really contributing, not just playing, but like Morgan Brown has been an epiphany since entering the starting lineup. We've seen Cam Patton has really come on. Cam Lancaster is a veteran player, but came back from injury and has really provided a spark. They seem to be clicking at the right time. And with just 3 regular season games remaining, they're well positioned to have a 1 or 2 seed in the Big 12 tournament and hopefully make some noise in the postseason. Volleyball is the same thing. I mean, they have taken on a really difficult schedule and shown their ability to not just win big games at home, but go on the road. What they did at BYU, that's only the, I think, 11th win the Cougars have allowed on their home court in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And so this team, they had some illnesses. They got swept at Utah, but they bounced back really well against BYU and Provo, and look like, they've got a tough matchup against Texas Tech and Lubbock on tonight. I don't know if we're live or not, but
we are live
on Wednesday. We are live. So Wednesday night they have a tough matchup in Provo, and this is they have all the pieces to be really successful. Melanie Parr looks like she has a chance to be an All-American.
All-American, yeah,
certainly
for sure.
a first team, all-conference player. And so Jason Williams has really come in and been what TCU needed in that program, taking them from being, kind of an also ran and fall to one of the premier programs, not just in the Big 12, but in the country. Again, like kind of out of nowhere. He's got this team ranked for the first time in its history this year, which is really cool to see. And they are rising up.
Big 12 is a great volleyball conference.
Yeah. Great soccer conference too.
Yeah. And then the Big Ten's a good volleyball conference. You're thinking Hawaii and California, but my Lord, you don't see it in flyover country. So anyway, I appreciate you hopping on. Jamie put us in a damn pinch, and
just the worst, that guy, I tell you.
He's been our closer, but we may have to take him out of the role. We may have to put you in, Melissa.
Coach, I'm always ready. I'm always getting warm in the bullpen. You got me. Just whenever you need me. And I'm a lefty, so you always need a lefty reliever in the pen.
Lefty specialist. How about that? Right now you're a lefty specialist.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, hey, I'm glad you're back in town, and thank you very much for bailing me out today.
Anytime, Jeff. Always happy to do it.
All right. Thanks. That's Melissa Triebwasser. Fantastic, opinionated, add some spice, and it looked like she was doing it from her classroom at Oak Ridge. So thank you, Melissa. And thank you guys for joining on. Ike, appreciate your comments. And we will see you guys next week, hopefully talking about a TCU victory. If not, we'll still have plenty to talk about. Probably more to talk about, honestly. So see you next week.
We all silly like the mayor.